I remember the first time I held her hand. "We'll make it," I told her, my voice barely above a whisper in the small apartment we shared. "No matter what, we'll make it together." She smiled, that soft, careless smile I used to think could fix everything wrong in my life. "I know we will," she said. "Because we have each other." I worked like a man possessed. 12, 14 hours a day. Every penny I earned went toward us, our little apartment, her clothes, the tiny treats that made her smile. Every night I came home exhausted, and she was always waiting with that laugh that made me forget the world. "I can't wait for our future," she'd say, brushing my hair back from my forehead. I believed her. I really did. But then the first cracks appeared. "Who's texting you at this hour?" I asked one night when her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. "Oh, just my friend," she said, a little too quickly, and grabbed it. Her eyes darted away. I tried to brush it off. Maybe I was being paranoid. But the late-night texts became a pattern. She'd step out for a walk and return an hour later, pretending nothing happened. I asked. She lied. I begged for honesty. She smiled and promised, and I believed her again. Foolishly. "I'm tired," I said one evening after a 16-hour shift. "Can we just sit and talk?" She sighed. "Not tonight. I have plans." "Plans? With who?" She looked at me like I was an annoyance. "I need space." "You wouldn't understand." I didn't understand. I didn't understand why the person I loved most was growing colder by the day, why her eyes no longer lit up when she saw me. I blamed myself. I thought I wasn't enough. Maybe I wasn't. Then came the day I discovered the truth. I had gone to surprise her at work, bringing lunch. She was smiling, chatting with someone I didn't recognize, a tall man in a tailored suit, expensive watch glinting in the sun. My stomach sank. "Hey, love," I said, forcing a cheerful tone I didn't feel. She turned, and her smile faltered for half a second, just long enough to make my heart twist. "Oh, hey," she said. The man shook my hand, and I noticed the familiarity between them. A closeness I had never shared with her. "Who's this?" I asked, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. "My friend," she said, voice tight. "We work together sometimes." I wanted to laugh, wanted to ask how someone could work so closely and still look at each other like that. But my voice came out raw. "Friend? Really?" She hesitated. That pause lasted longer than I could bear. My chest tightened. "Tell me the truth," I said. "Please." Her eyes flicked to him, then back to me. I can't do this anymore," she whispered. I felt like the floor dropped beneath me. "Do what? Do what anymore?" "I'm sorry," she said. "You're sweet, but I deserve more than this. More than what you can give." I blinked. My mind refused to process it. "More than love?" I asked, my voice breaking. She didn't answer. The man stepped closer, hand on her shoulder. And then it hit me like a punch to the gut, she had been seeing him behind my back. My best efforts, my sacrifices, my love, all wasted. "Why?" I choked. "Why would you do this to me?" She looked away, cold and unapologetic. "Because you're you. You work so hard, but you'll never be enough. Not for me." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "Not enough? I gave you everything I had." She shrugged, as if my devotion meant nothing. "It's not about what you gave. I want a life I can't get with you. I want security, comfort, luxury. You can't provide that." I felt the heat rising in my chest. Anger, disbelief, heartbreak, all colliding. So that's it? All those nights I stayed up thinking about us, all the sacrifices I made, it meant nothing? She didn't flinch. I'm not proud of it. I'm just honest. And you? You'll understand someday, but it's too late for us now. I stared at her, unable to move. Unable to breathe. Every word was a knife twisting in my chest. I wanted to scream, to cry, to plead, but nothing came out. Please, I whispered. Don't do this. Not like this. Her smile returned, soft but merciless. I already did. I'm sorry you had to find out like this. And then they walked away, hand in hand, laughing. The sound was like acid in my ears. I wanted to curse, to hit something, to fall to the ground. But I only stood there, numb, watching the person I trusted most vanish into a world I wasn't part of. That night, I sat in the apartment we had built together. The silence was suffocating. I ran my hands through my hair, shaking. Why? I asked the empty room. Why would you do this? Did I deserve this? The answer came in my own chest, pain. A hollow, endless ache that refused to leave. Days passed, and the betrayal lingered. I replayed every moment, every smile, every promise, asking myself if I had missed the signs. I called her. She didn't answer. I texted. She ignored me. Each unanswered attempt cut deeper than the last. I can't believe I trusted you, I whispered to the walls. I gave you everything. My heart, my dreams, my life. And then, in my mind, I heard her words again. You'll never be enough. Enough. The word burned like fire. I had worked, suffered, loved everything. And it wasn't enough for her. My pride shattered, and with it, the man I had been. I tried to sleep that night, but my mind wouldn't stop. I imagined her with him, laughing at jokes I didn't know, touching him like she had never touched me. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. I'll make you regret this, I whispered to the darkness, voice shaking. I'll show you what you lost. But even as I said it, a part of me still ached for her. Still wanted her to come back and tell me it was all a mistake. That part of me hated itself for not being stronger, for loving too much, for believing too hard. I looked around the apartment, our apartment, and saw the life I thought we would have together. It was just walls now, empty and silent. No laughter, no warmth, no future. Just me, and the memory of a love that had turned into the sharpest betrayal I could imagine. I wondered if I should hate her. Part of me did, but another part understood. People follow their desires. People choose comfort over love. I had been naive, blind. And now I was broken, standing on the edge of a world that felt colder than ever. I stayed up all night, thinking, planning, crying, and shaking. By dawn, I realized something terrifying. I couldn't go back to the man I was. The man who loved too much, trusted blindly, and gave everything without thinking of himself. That man was gone. In his place, something else stirred. Something sharp, cold, and determined. I didn't know what it was yet, only that I would never let myself be that vulnerable again. Never. And as the sun rose, casting its weak light over the apartment we had once shared, I whispered to myself, I will rise. I will take everything you left behind, and I will be someone you can't touch, someone you can't hurt. I promise. The betrayal had broken me, yes, but it had also planted the seed of something far more dangerous. Something unstoppable. I clenched my fists again, feeling the first flicker of strength in the void of my despair. My heart ached, my pride burned, but for the first time in days, I felt alive. And I knew one thing for certain, I would never be the same again. The morning after I saw them together, I didn't know how to move. I stayed in our apartment, staring at the walls, the empty coffee mugs, the bed we once shared. Every memory stabbed at me. I wanted to call her, scream at her, beg her to tell me it was a mistake. But my hands wouldn't reach for my phone. I should hate you, I muttered to myself. But my voice broke, and I let it trail off. Days passed. I tried to keep busy at work, but every task felt pointless. Every colleague's laugh sounded like a taunt. Then, one evening, fate threw her in front of me. She was at the cafe I usually went to after work, laughing with him, the businessman. The way she leaned into him, her hair brushing his shoulder, her eyes sparkling, it felt like a punch to the stomach. I stepped closer, trying to mask my fury. "Hey," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Her head snapped up. "Oh, hi," she said, smiling too sweetly. My chest tightened. I glanced at him. "I don't think we've met." He extended his hand. "Mark," he said, polite but confident. I shook it tightly, feeling a strange surge of jealousy and rage. "I'm Alex," I said. "Alex," she bit her lip, glancing away. "It's been a while." "Yeah," I said, keeping my tone calm. "Been a while." She smiled at me again, as if everything were normal. "You're looking good," she said. "Really?" I laughed bitterly. "Thanks. I guess you could say I've been surviving." She looked at me curiously. "Surviving?" "Life," I said, shrugging. "You know, paying bills, keeping my head above water." My eyes scanned the cafe, taking in the expensive coffee he was buying her. The pastries she wouldn't have dared afford before. "Seems like you're thriving," I added. Her smile faltered, but she recovered quickly. "I am. Things have changed." "Changed?" I echoed, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "And what about us? Did that change too?" She looked down at her cup, stirring it nervously. "Alex. I had to make a choice." "You mean between me and him?" I said sharply. "Yes," she whispered. "I couldn't stay in the life we had. I needed more." "More?" My voice rose. "You had everything you ever said mattered. You had love. You had me." "I know," she said softly, eyes glistening. "And I'm sorry. I truly am. But I can't go back." I laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "Sorry? That's all you have to say?" She flinched slightly. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I never wanted to. But I can't pretend anymore." "You never pretended," I said, shaking my head. "You lied. You hid everything. Every late text, every secret meeting, it was all a lie." Her lips trembled. I had to do what I thought was best for me. I can't change that now." I clenched my fists. "Best for you? You're happy now, aren't you? Money, comfort, luxury. Is it worth breaking me completely?" She hesitated. I didn't think about. I mean, I thought you'd understand." "Understand?" I asked, incredulous. "Do you know how much I trusted you? How much I worked for us? How many nights I went without eating just to make sure you had what you wanted?" She looked away, silent. My words hit her, and I knew she felt the weight, but she didn't respond. "Do you even remember the promises we made?" I pressed, voice rising. "Do you remember saying we'd face everything together? Do you remember saying love was enough?" She swallowed, voice barely a whisper. "I remember. I do." "Then why?" I asked, almost screaming now. "Why throw it all away? her eyes filled with tears. I thought I was choosing the right life. I didn't mean for it to hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt me? I spat. Everything I felt, everything I gave, it hurt me. It destroyed me. And you walked away like it was nothing. She looked down, silent. I saw a flicker of guilt, but it didn't last. I can't go back, she said again, softly. I laughed, shaking my head. No. You can't. And you won't. Not because I won't forgive you, because you can't live with what you've done. You've crossed a line you can never return from. She blinked at me, startled. Alex, please. No, I said firmly. Please nothing. You made your choice. Now live with it. I turned, feeling my chest tighten, my heart ache, and my pride burn all at once. I walked away, each step heavier than the last. I heard her call my name, but I didn't stop. Not this time. Back home, I sat in silence, trying to make sense of it all. My hands shook as I poured a glass of water, staring out the window at the city lights. Why did you do it? I whispered to the empty room. Was I not enough? I remembered all the nights I stayed up late, working, saving, dreaming for us. I remembered her laughter, the soft words she whispered in my ear, the way she made me feel like the world was ours. And now, it was gone. All of it. I called my best friend, hoping for some clarity. Jake. I don't know what to do, I said when he picked up. Alex, what happened? He asked, concern in his voice. I saw her, I said, voice cracking. With him. She's moved on, Jake. She doesn't care. She chose money over me. I'm sorry, man, he said softly. I know how much you loved her. I loved her with everything, I said, anger rising again. I worked my ass off, sacrificed everything, and she threw it away. All of it. I know, man. I know, he said. But you have to let it go. You can't let her ruin you. Let it go. I shouted, gripping the edge of the table. I can't just let her walk away like that. Everything we had, she destroyed it. She humiliated me. I trusted her with my life, Jake. You can't change what she did, he said firmly. But you can change yourself. You can rise from this. Be better. Stronger. I was silent, thinking. Could I? Could I rise from this humiliation, this heartbreak? Could I rebuild myself when everything I thought mattered was gone? I looked at my phone. Her name stared back at me from the contact list. I pressed it, hovered over the call button, and then stopped. No, I whispered. No more. I won't beg. I won't cry. I won't give her the satisfaction. The next few days were torture. Every street corner reminded me of her, every familiar cafe, every shared memory. But slowly, a plan began forming in my mind. If she wanted a life of luxury and ease, fine. But I would have a life of my own. One where she could never reach me, never touch me, never think she still had me. I called Jake again. I'm going to start over, I said quietly. From nothing. I'll work. I'll fight. And I'll become someone she can't even dream of. You sound like you're serious, he said, a little stunned. I am, I said. She chose her life over me. Fine. I'll take mine. And when I'm done, when I'm everything she thought I could never be, she'll see. She'll finally realize what she lost. That night, I packed a bag. Not for a vacation, not for a job, but for a new life. My old life, the life I shared with her, was over. I left behind our apartment, our memories, and the broken version of myself. I'll rise, I whispered to the empty room. I'll make her regret every choice. Not by hurting her, but by becoming someone untouchable, someone she can never reach. And I'll never, never let anyone betray me like that again. I walked out into the night, the city lights shining cold and distant. My heart still ached, my pride still burned, but a strange determination filled me. This was the first step. The first move in a game that had just begun. I didn't know what awaited me, only that I wouldn't fail. Not this time. Not again. And as I disappeared into the darkness, I whispered once more, she chose money over love. Fine. I'll choose power, dignity, and myself. I didn't know how much lower I could fall until that night. The apartment I had rented after leaving her place was cold, empty, and silent. My stomach ached from hunger, my body trembled from exhaustion, and my mind wouldn't stop replaying her face, her laugh, the way she had chosen him over me. I'm worthless, I muttered, voice shaking as I leaned against the wall. I gave everything, and it wasn't enough. The phone buzzed with a notification I ignored. No calls from her. No texts. Nothing. I realized, bitterly, that she didn't even think about me anymore. She had moved on completely, and I was left in ruins. I walked to the kitchen, opening the fridge. Empty. I opened the cupboards. Nothing but dust and an old bag of rice. I dropped to the floor, head in my hands. This is it, I whispered. This is the end. Hours passed. I didn't move. I barely breathed. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from an unknown number. Hey, you okay? I frowned. Who would care? I stared at the screen. It was a coworker from my previous job, someone I barely knew. Something in their concern, their unexpected kindness, made me shiver. Yeah, I guess, I typed back, unsure why I even replied. Don't guess. You're stronger than you think, came the reply. I laughed bitterly. Stronger? Look at me. I have nothing. No money, no love, no future. How can I be stronger? You survive. That's strength. You're alive, right? Alive. Barely. But yes, alive. And that small word planted a seed I didn't notice at first. Later, I went out for air. The streets were dark, wet from rain. I wandered aimlessly, hood pulled over my head, fists clenched. I can't do this anymore, I whispered. I'm done. A voice startled me. Hey, are you okay? I looked up to see a man sitting on a bench, drenched, smoking a cigarette. His eyes were tired but kind. You don't look okay, he added, matter of fact. I'm fine, I muttered. No, you're not, he said calmly. I've seen that look before. You're at a crossroads, kid. You either let this break you, or you use it. Use it? Use what? I asked, voice trembling. Your pain. Your anger. Everything you're feeling right now, turn it into something that will change your life. I stared at him. You sound crazy. Maybe. Or maybe I've been where you are. Broken. Betrayed. Lost. And I made a choice. I chose to rise. Rise? I echoed, bitter. How do you rise from this? How do you climb out of nothing? He flicked his cigarette, watching it burn into the wet pavement. You start by deciding. Decide you won't stay down. Decide you'll take control. Decide you'll be stronger than the people who hurt you. I shook my head. It's not that easy. He shrugged. Nothing worth having ever is. But it starts with a step. One step. And you? You're already alive. You've got that much. Now choose what comes next. I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream. But something in his words lingered. A spark. Maybe it was possible. That night, I went home and stared at the ceiling. The empty apartment, the cold floor, the silence, it was all mine. And in that silence, I made a decision. I can't stay like this, I whispered. I won't stay like this. I won't be the man she left. I won't be the man who crumbles when life hits him. I'll rise. I picked up my phone and called Jake. I need you, I said simply when he answered. I'm here, man. What's going on? He asked. I can't stay in this city. I need a fresh start. I need guidance, I said, my voice barely holding together. Okay. You've hit rock bottom, he said thoughtfully. That's usually when people change. You ready to do that? I don't have a choice, I admitted. I've lost everything. And if I don't change now, I'll stay broken forever. Then do it, he said firmly. No excuses. You've got to work for it, fight for it, claw your way up. And I'll help. You're not alone. Hearing his words, I felt a strange mix of fear and hope. I didn't know what awaited me, but I knew staying the same would kill me inside. I had to act. I went through the small bag I had packed. Just a few clothes, some savings I'd managed to hide, and a notebook filled with plans. This is it, I whispered. This is the first day of the rest of my life. I won't let her define me. I won't let her win. I remembered every humiliating moment, the laughter I'd imagined, the look on her face when she chose him, the coldness, the betrayal. It fueled me, sharper than any blade. I will be better, I said. I will be stronger. I will build a life she can't touch, a life she can't ruin. The next morning, I left the apartment. Every step on the wet pavement felt heavier than the last, but I didn't stop. I walked with purpose now. Each puddle reflected not the man I was, but the man I was becoming. Determined, unbroken, focused. I found a small internet cafe and began researching. Jobs, opportunities, ways to earn, ways to grow. Hours passed, but I barely noticed the cold. My mind was alive, planning, scheming, building. Every click of the mouse felt like a brick laid toward a new life. Jake visited the next day. You've got fire in your eyes, he said, nodding approvingly. Good. That's what I wanted to see. Fire? I asked, a small smile breaking through. Yes. That spark that says you won't give up. That says you'll claw your way out. That says you'll rise. I have to, I said. I can't go back to being that weak man. I can't let her or anyone else have that power over me again. You won't, he said confidently. But remember, this is just the start. You'll fall again, probably many times. But each time, you'll get back up. Stronger, smarter, sharper. I will, I said. No matter what it takes. That night, I sat on a bench in the park, notebook open, pen in hand. I wrote down plans, goals, steps. I wrote down everything I wanted to achieve. Wealth, independence, respect, and one day, perhaps, peace. I looked up at the stars, thinking about her, thinking about what I had lost, and thinking about what I would gain. I'll never be that man again, I whispered. I'll rise. And when I do, she'll see. She'll see the man she let go. And it will be too late. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt something other than pain. A flicker of hope. A spark of determination. The night had been my low point, yes, but it had also given me clarity. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't be a victim. I would fight. I would survive. And I would become unstoppable. That night, I made a vow to myself, I will rise. I will take nothing for granted. I will rebuild my life from scratch, and I will never let anyone betray me like this again. And in the darkness, surrounded by my own despair, I felt the first taste of power, quiet, steady, unyielding. I was broken. But I was alive. And alive meant there was still a chance. A chance to become someone she could never touch. A chance to rise. I woke up the next morning with a strange resolve. My body ached, my hands were raw from odd jobs I'd taken just to survive, but my mind was alive. I can't stay broken, I whispered to myself. I have to turn this pain into something I can control. Jake called first thing. Ready for today, he asked, enthusiasm in his voice. As ready as I'll ever be, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. Good. You're not just surviving anymore, Alex. You're taking the first step toward real change. I sighed. Feels like I'm climbing a mountain barefoot. Better start climbing, then, he said, chuckling. No one's going to carry you to the top. I laughed bitterly. Trust me, I know. We started small. Odd jobs, freelance work, anything that could bring in a few extra bucks. Every day I pushed harder than the day before. And every day, I felt a little more alive. A little less like the man she left behind. One afternoon, while delivering packages, a woman approached me. She was older, dressed simply but with an air of confidence. You work hard, she said, watching me heft a heavy box. Yeah, someone has to, I muttered, wiping sweat from my forehead. I used to be in your position, she said, smiling kindly. Struggling, scraping by. But I learned something, pain can either bury you or fuel you. You choose. Her words hit me harder than any insult she'd ever thrown. Fuel me? I echoed. Exactly. Every hardship, every betrayal, it can become the fire that drives you forward. You just have to want it badly enough. I nodded slowly, feeling a flicker of understanding. I do want it. More than anything. She studied me for a moment. Then don't waste another second. Work smarter, not just harder. Learn, improve, push. You'll get there. I thanked her and walked away, mind buzzing with possibilities. It wasn't enough to survive, I had to thrive. I had to be better than I ever imagined. That evening, I met Jake at a small cafe. I ran into someone today, I said, sliding into the booth. Someone who made you think? He asked with a grin. Yeah. She told me to use the pain, not drown in it. Anne. I think she's right. I don't want to just survive anymore. I want control. I want power. Jake leaned back, impressed. Sounds like the start of something big. It has to be, I said firmly. I won't let her, or anyone else, define me again. No one will have that power over me. Weeks passed. I worked, learned, and hustled harder than I thought possible. The exhaustion never left, but I didn't care. Every rejection, every minor failure became fuel. Every no became a reason to fight harder. One night, exhausted and filthy, I called Jake. I don't know if I can keep going, I admitted. It's too much sometimes. You can, he said firmly. You're stronger than you think. Remember the night you decided to rise? You meant it. That means something. That fire hasn't died yet. I hope you're right, I muttered. I am, he said. Now go. Tomorrow, we take the next step. The next step was networking. Meeting mentors, people who had succeeded despite the odds. I met Mr. Chen, a gruff but brilliant entrepreneur who saw potential in me. You've got drive, he said. Most people crumble when life hits them. You're different. You just need direction. I've had direction, I said, voice low. I had someone I loved. She left me. He raised an eyebrow. Good. Let that sting. Let it remind you why you fight. Turn your heartbreak into ambition. That's how you rise. I nodded slowly. His words resonated. I realized that every painful moment, every humiliation, every betrayal could be transformed into power. I didn't need her approval or her love anymore. I only needed myself. Months passed, and the change became visible. I moved into a small shared office space, started a modest business, and learned the ropes of entrepreneurship. I failed constantly, but each failure taught me more than any easy success ever could. One evening, I sat in the office, exhausted and alone. Jake stopped by. Look at you, he said. From the guy who almost gave up to this. You've changed. I'm not done, I said firmly. Not by a long shot. But I can feel it. The man I was, the broken man, he's gone. This is the beginning. He smiled. You've earned it. Keep going. I went home that night, lying in a bed that still felt too big and too empty. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about her, thinking about all I'd lost, thinking about all I was gaining. I'm becoming someone she can't touch, I whispered. Someone she can't humiliate. Someone untouchable. And in that quiet moment, I made another vow. I will not be weak again. I will not let betrayal define me. Every ounce of pain she caused me will become fuel. Every heartbreak will be strength. Every humiliation will be a stepping stone. The days blurred together. I worked, learned, failed, and tried again. My body ached, my mind raced, but I never stopped. Each small victory, earning a new client, closing a deal, mastering a skill, felt like a triumph over the boy I used to be. Jake came by one evening, excitement in his voice. Alex, you've changed. I can see it. You're not just surviving. You're building. You're growing. I feel it, I said quietly. I feel stronger. I feel unstoppable. He smiled knowingly. Good. Because the next part isn't easy. You're going to face people who try to tear you down. You're going to face temptation, doubt and fear. But you've got fire now. And fire doesn't quit. I won't quit, I said firmly. And I meant it. The turning point came one night when I stayed late, reviewing my growing client list, calculating projections. I realized something incredible. I was finally in control. I wasn't running from her pain anymore. I was building my own empire, step by step, fueled by every scar she left on me. I paused, staring at the screen. I've come a long way, I whispered. And this is only the beginning. I thought about her, about the life she had chosen. She'll see me someday, I said softly. Not as the man she left, but as someone she can't touch. Someone untouchable. And she'll regret ever thinking she could hurt me. The first spark of real power ignited in me, not the kind of power that comes from wealth or status alone, but the power that comes from surviving, adapting, and refusing to be broken. I leaned back in my chair, exhausted but alive, and whispered to myself, this is my life now. I am not hers. I am mine. And no one will ever take this from me again. And for the first time in months, I slept without dreams of betrayal, without the pain clawing at my chest. For the first time, I slept with purpose. I was no longer just the boy she left behind. I was becoming a man who could never be broken again. And I promised myself, the world would notice me soon. I never expected to meet someone like her. After months of focusing on work, on building myself from nothing, I was tired, exhausted, and wary of letting anyone close again. And then, one rainy afternoon, she appeared. "Hey, you're soaked," she said, holding an umbrella out to me. Her voice was calm, gentle, not forced. "Here, take mine." I hesitated, then shook my head. "I'll manage." "No, you won't," she said firmly, stepping closer. "I insist. You look like you've been through hell." I wanted to laugh, bitterly. "You could say that." "I can see it," she said, studying me with those clear, steady eyes. "You've been hurt. Deeply. But you're still standing. That says something about you." I blinked. Nobody had ever looked at me and said that. Nobody had seen the cracks in me and not recoiled. "You really mean that?" I asked cautiously. "I do," she said softly. "And I'm not here to fix you. I'm just here. If you'll let me." I wanted to test her, push her away like I did with everyone else. "Why?" I asked. "Why care about a broken man?" She smiled faintly. "Because I see strength in broken people. They've survived, and that's rare. Not everyone gets that second chance." Her words felt like a balm I didn't know I needed. I laughed softly, more bitter than amused. "Second chance, you sound like you know me already." "Maybe I do," she said. "Or maybe I just see things clearly. You don't have to explain yourself to me." We walked together under the umbrella, rain pelting around us. And I found myself talking. About everything. About her betrayal, my heartbreak, my struggle to rise again. I didn't hold back. I didn't censor my pain. "You're stronger than you think," she said quietly, after I had finished rambling. "And also, fragile. But that fragility doesn't make you weak. It makes you human." "Fragile?" I echoed, frowning. "I don't feel fragile." "No, not in the way you think," she said. "You've endured a lot. But I can see that you're still wary, still hesitant to let anyone close. That's fragile, but it's also beautiful. Because it means you still care. You still love, even if you've been hurt." I looked at her, unsure how to respond. Nobody had ever said anything like that. Nobody had ever understood me, not really. "You don't have to trust me immediately," she added quickly. "I'll wait. I don't want to rush anything." I shook my head. I don't know if I can trust anyone again." "You can," she said firmly. "You just need to be willing to try. With me, I mean." I laughed, softly, almost bitterly. "You're bold." "I'm honest," she corrected. "And I like honesty. Even when it's messy." Over the next few weeks, we spent more time together. I was cautious, hesitant, always expecting betrayal or disappointment. But she never gave me a reason to doubt her. She asked about my work, my dreams, my struggles. She didn't pity me, didn't judge me. She just listened. And supported. One evening, while we sat in a quiet cafe, I admitted something I hadn't told anyone. I thought I'd never love again, I confessed. Not after everything. I thought I'd be too broken. She reached out, placing her hand over mine. "You will love again," she said gently. "Not because you need someone to fill the void, but because you're capable of it. And when you do, it will be real. Strong. Worth it." Her words hit me harder than any advice, any speech about rising from pain. I realized I had been afraid, not of failure, not of losing, but of opening my heart again. And she made it feel safe to try. I looked at her, feeling the walls I'd built around myself start to crumble. "I don't know how to do this," I admitted. You already are, she said softly. By being honest. By letting yourself feel again. By letting me in, even a little. I swallowed, trying to hold back emotion I hadn't allowed myself to feel in months. I don't want to get hurt again. Neither do I, she said. But life is about taking chances. And sometimes, the people worth taking chances on are the ones who see your pain and still choose to stay. Her words lingered long after she left that night. I thought about her, about the way she didn't judge me, about the way she made me feel safe for the first time in years. I realized something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself sharing more and more. My dreams, my plans, my fears, even the deepest scars left by my ex. And every time, she listened. She never pushed, never pressured. She simply cared. One evening, while working late, I received a text from her. Don't forget to take care of yourself. You're building something amazing. And I'm proud of you. I stared at the message, a warmth spreading through me I hadn't felt in a long time. Proud of me? I whispered. Someone actually sees what I'm doing, and they care. I called Jake that night, unable to contain my thoughts. Jake. I think I've met someone. And she's different. She's not like her. She actually sees me. Jake laughed softly. About time, man. I was starting to worry you'd become a hermit. I'm serious, I said, a small smile breaking through. She doesn't just see the success or the anger. She sees the person underneath it all. And she's staying. That's rare, Jake said. Hold on to that. Don't mess it up. I won't, I said firmly. I've learned my lesson. This is real. That night, I lay in bed thinking about her. Thinking about the patience, the kindness, the honesty she had shown me. And I realized I was feeling something I hadn't dared to feel in months. Something fragile, yet exhilarating. Trust. The next morning, I met her for coffee. I've been thinking, I said, hesitating. About us. She looked up, smiling softly. And? I don't want to rush, I said. But I want to try. I want to see where this goes. With you. Her eyes lit up, and a soft laugh escaped her lips. That's all I want too, she said. No pressure, no expectations. Just us. I nodded, feeling a weight lift from my chest. For the first time, I wasn't running from pain or betrayal. I wasn't haunted by her choices. I was alive, and I was choosing to trust again. I don't know what the future holds, I admitted, but I want to face it, with you. Then let's do that, she said simply. Step by step. Together. I smiled, the first genuine smile in months. Together, I echoed. And in that moment, I realized something important. This wasn't about replacing her. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone. This was about me. About choosing someone who respected me, cared for me, and saw me for who I truly was. I've waited too long to let someone see me like this, I whispered. But, with her, it feels right. The weeks that followed were a revelation. She challenged me, supported me, and reminded me that love didn't have to hurt to be real. She didn't erase my past, but she made me feel whole again. One night, sitting on her balcony with the city lights glowing below, I whispered, I've been broken for so long. But with you, I feel healed. Not completely, but closer than I've ever been. She smiled, taking my hand. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about finding someone who chooses to stay, even when it's hard. And I choose to stay, Alex. Every day. I squeezed her hand, feeling warmth spread through me. "Then I choose you too," I said softly. And for the first time since the betrayal, I didn't feel the sting of the past. I felt strength. I felt hope. I felt love. She didn't fix me. She didn't erase the pain. But she stood beside me, and that made all the difference. I realized then that power wasn't just about rising from betrayal. It was about allowing yourself to trust, to feel, and to love again. And for the first time, I knew I was ready. It was strange, waking up one morning and realizing I wasn't just surviving anymore. My business was growing, my clients were multiplying, and slowly, the respect I had craved for so long was finally coming. I could feel it in the way people looked at me, in the calls I got, in the small victories that added up to something much bigger. Jake was the first to notice the change. "Alex," he said one evening as we reviewed my growing client list, "you've come a long way. You're not the same guy who left that apartment months ago. You're powerful now." I smiled faintly, leaning back in my chair. "I've worked for it," I admitted. "Every hour, every sacrifice, every failure, it's all led here. But you know what? It still doesn't feel real." "Of course it doesn't," Jake said, shaking his head. "You've been burned before. It takes time to accept that success isn't just luck or chance, it's earned. And you've earned every bit of it." I leaned forward, elbows on the desk, and whispered, "I want her to see it. I want her to know that the man she left behind isn't behind anymore." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Ah, the old fire. Revenge or closure?" "Neither," I said firmly. "Not revenge. Not yet. Just proof. Proof that I can rise from nothing. That I can build a life she can't touch." And that thought became my quiet motivation. Every deal I closed, every client I impressed, every late night I spent planning, it all carried a weight of personal meaning I had never experienced before. One afternoon, a familiar name appeared in my inbox. Her name. I froze, staring at it like the screen had burned me. "Alex, I heard about your company's success. I wanted to congratulate you." I stared for a long moment. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Could I respond? Should I? I typed cautiously, "Thank you." Hit send before I could overthink it. Minutes later, another reply came. "It's impressive. I didn't expect it. You've changed so much." I closed my eyes, letting out a slow breath. "So she notices," I whispered. "She sees what I've become." But it wasn't the validation I expected. It didn't hurt. It didn't sting. Instead, it felt like a quiet acknowledgement of my own effort, my own strength. I called Jake immediately. "She emailed me," I said, voice tight but steady. "She knows. She's noticing what I've done." "Good," he said. "Let her notice. But remember, don't let it control you. You're doing this for you, not for her approval." "I know," I said. I want her to understand. To realize what she left behind." Jake sighed, shaking his head. "Be careful, man. You're walking a thin line. You don't want the past to pull you back in." "I won't," I said firmly. "Not this time." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, negotiations, and strategy sessions. I was exhausted, but in a way that felt alive. Every new client, every positive review, every successful pitch reminded me that I was capable. That I could survive. That I could thrive. Then, one evening, she called. "Alex?" Her voice was hesitant, almost tentative. I swallowed, keeping my tone even. "Yes? I wanted to hear your voice." "I've been watching from afar," she said quietly. And I'm surprised. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect you to rise like this. I laughed softly, shaking my head. Rise? You mean survive? No, she said quickly. Not survive. You've excelled. You've built something remarkable. Anne. I can't help but feel regret. Regret. That word hung in the air like a weight. I didn't respond immediately. Part of me wanted to ask, do you really regret it? Or are you just acknowledging what I've done? Instead, I said carefully, I didn't do this for you. I did it for me. Every step, every struggle, it was mine. I built this life, not to prove anything to you, but to prove to myself that I could. She was silent for a moment. I understand that. And I'm sorry. I never should have left. I never should have hurt you the way I did. I inhaled sharply. It's too late for apologies. That life, that version of us, it's gone. I've moved on. I've built something new. Something stronger. I know, she said softly. And I respect that. I really do. But I can't help feeling. I don't know. I should have never doubted you. I should have seen what I had before it was too late. I'm not the same man you left, I said, voice firm but calm. And I don't want to be. I don't want to go back to that. That version of me, he was weak. Vulnerable. Blind. And that's not who I am anymore. Alex, her voice cracked. I never thought I'd see you like this. Confident, strong, unshakable. You've changed everything. Yes, I said softly, a small, almost imperceptible smile on my lips. I've changed everything. And now, I live for me. Not for anyone else. The next few days, I noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. She would watch from a distance at business events, glance at my projects, and even ask mutual friends about my progress. It wasn't intrusive, but it was clear, she noticed. One afternoon, we ran into each other at a networking event. She approached cautiously. Alex, she said softly. You look incredible. I smiled politely. Thank you. You look well. She hesitated, as if weighing her words. I can't stop thinking about what I lost. Anne. I realize now. I made a mistake. A huge one. I raised an eyebrow. Do you? I asked carefully. Or are you just acknowledging what I've done? I feel both, she admitted. Seeing how far you've come, it's overwhelming. I don't know how to explain it. I took a deep breath. There's nothing to explain. I've moved on, but I won't forget what happened. And I won't let it affect me. My success, my life, it's mine. And I built it from the ground up. She nodded slowly, eyes glistening. I know. And I respect that. I'm proud of you, Alex. Truly. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman who left me for security, for wealth, now watched the man she underestimated rise higher than she ever imagined. And yet, it didn't give me the satisfaction I expected. I realized that my drive, my fire, wasn't fueled by revenge or her regret. It was fueled by me, by my desire to survive, to grow, and to never be weak again. That night, I called Jake. She's noticing, I said. I know, he said. And nothing, I said, smiling softly. It doesn't matter anymore. I've built my life. I've built me. That's enough. Jake laughed. Sounds like you've finally found balance. The fire isn't about her anymore, it's about you. Exactly, I said. It's never been about her. It's about proving to myself that I'm unbreakable. That I can rise. That I can thrive, no matter what anyone else does. Weeks turned into months. My company grew, my reputation solidified, and I became someone people respected, feared even. And through it all, I never forgot the lessons of betrayal, heartbreak, and survival. I never forgot the nights I cried, the days I doubted myself, the moments I wanted to give up. And she became a quiet reminder of the man I used to be and the man I had become. One evening, she approached me again. "Alex," she said softly, I see you. Truly. Anne. I want you to know. I regret leaving. I regret hurting you. I wish I had never doubted you. I looked at her, calm, composed, and firm. I don't need your regret, I said gently. I never did. I only needed to survive, to rise, to become someone unshakable. And I did. Her eyes filled with tears. And you're extraordinary. Truly. I just. You don't have to say anything, I interrupted softly. I built this life for me. Not for you. Not for anyone else. And that makes me free. She nodded, swallowing hard. I understand. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Success wasn't about proving her wrong. It wasn't about showing her regret. It was about taking control of my life, my choices, and my destiny. And in doing so, I had become untouchable, not because of wealth or status, but because I no longer relied on anyone else to define me. And that was the ultimate power.
Good news. I cheered for her as fiercely as I would for myself. Each time I faced a challenge, she encouraged me, reminding me that strength was not just about rising alone, but rising together. One night, I received a video call from her. "Alex, look," she said, her face glowing with excitement. "I just secured a major project. It's everything I've worked for." I smiled, pride swelling in my chest. "You did it. I knew you could." "Thanks to you," she said softly. "You believed in me, even when I doubted myself. You've changed everything." I shook my head. "No, you did it. You worked for it, fought for it. I just reminded you of your own strength." Her eyes softened. "And that's why I love you." I blinked, feeling a rush of warmth. "I love you too," I said firmly. "And I always will." The weeks continued, and I realized that this trust, love, partnership was more powerful than any revenge or success I had chased. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone anymore. It was about being present, being committed, and being the man I had promised myself I would become. Then came the test I hadn't anticipated. My ex reappeared, bold and arrogant, at a business gala. She walked in, eyes scanning the room, and finally stopped when she saw me. "Alex," she said, voice cool. I didn't expect to see you like this. Successful, powerful, untouchable." I felt a calm settle over me. She had expected a reaction, maybe jealousy, maybe humiliation. But all I felt was nothing. "I've changed," I said evenly. "I'm not the man you left behind." She smirked. "I can see that. And I regret my choices. I see now what I had." I looked at her, my voice firm. "Your regrets are yours. I'm living my life. I don't need your approval. I don't need your pity. I only needed to rise for myself. And I did." Her eyes flickered with something between admiration and envy. "You've become untouchable," she said softly. "I've become unstoppable," I corrected calmly. "And I have someone who chose to stay. Someone who trusted me when it mattered. And that's worth more than your regret." She turned, unable to meet my eyes, and walked away. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I simply exhaled, feeling the power of my choices, the strength of my trust, and the security of love that had passed every test. I called her, the woman who had stayed, the one who saw my broken pieces and chose to stay. I saw her, I said softly. I know, she replied. And nothing, I said with a small smile. It doesn't matter. What matters is us. Our trust, our love. That's what's real. She laughed softly.
Exactly.
And that's why I love you. I love you too, I said firmly. And I always will. And for the first time in years, I felt completely free. Not from struggle, not from challenge, but from fear. From doubt. From betrayal. I had risen, loved, and survived. And nothing could touch what we had built together. I never expected the past to knock on my door again. Not after everything I'd built. Not after the months of growth, love, and quiet victories. Yet there she was, my ex, standing at the entrance to my office building, her eyes scanning for a reaction. I straightened, letting her presence register without giving her power. She looked older, polished, but there was no warmth in her expression, just curiosity and something that resembled regret. Alex, she said, voice smooth but tentative. I need to talk to you. I crossed my arms, studying her. You need to talk to me, or you want something from me? She flinched, as if caught off guard. I need closure. I need to say the things I should have said years ago. I laughed softly, bitterly. Closure? That's funny.
You hurt me.
You left me broken. And now you think a few words will change anything? I know I hurt you, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I know I left you.
And I
thought I was making the right choice. But seeing what you've become, I realized how wrong I was. I shook my head. It's too late for realizations. Too late for apologies. You had your chance.
You left.
And I survived. I rose. I built a life that's mine, without you controlling it, without you defining it. She swallowed hard, looking down. I can see now what I lost, and I regret it every day. Regret won't change the past, I said calmly, leaning back in my chair. It won't bring back the trust you broke or the nights I cried because of you. It won't rebuild what I had to rebuild myself. You can't undo the choices you made, but you can learn from them. She looked up at me, eyes glistening. Alex, I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. And I want to fix it. I want a second chance. I laughed softly, shaking my head. You want a second chance? Let me make this perfectly clear. I don't live in the past anymore. I don't let people dictate my worth or my happiness. I've moved on. I've built something real, and I have someone in my life who chose to stay, who trusted me when it mattered. That's real love, and that's real trust. Not this, I said, gesturing at her. Her eyes widened, a mix of shock and longing. You're with someone else? Yes, I said simply. And she's everything I needed you to be, but never were. She stayed when it mattered. She believed when it was hard. And she loved me when I couldn't even trust myself. That's why she's here and you're not. She flinched, and I saw a flicker of anger, or maybe it was humiliation in her eyes. You've made me feel small, she said quietly. I thought I had power over you, that I could come back and you'd. Power. I interrupted firmly. You never had power over me. You had a choice to hurt me, and you took it. That was your power. But my strength, my life, that's mine.
You can't touch it now.
You can't touch me. Tears welled in her eyes. Alex. I never thought I'd see you like this.
Strong.
Confident. Untouchable. I stood, walking closer, voice low and steady. Untouchable doesn't come from wealth or success. It comes from surviving the worst, rising above it, and learning to trust again. That's what I've done. And that's why I'm free. That's why I'm alive. And that's why you can't hurt me anymore. She swallowed hard, trembling slightly. And you love her? Yes, I said simply. She's my partner, my confidant, the woman who stayed when it mattered most. She trusted me, believed in me, and chose to build something real with me. And that's more than you ever did. Her hands shook. I didn't understand.
I,
I thought I could have it all.
I,
I thought I could leave and come back. I shook my head slowly. Life doesn't work that way. You either choose to stay and commit, or you leave and accept the consequences. I accepted mine, and I chose to rise. You chose to regret. She took a step back, her voice breaking. Alex,
I
didn't know it would hurt me this much.
I
never thought I'd see you happy without me. And now, I can't even imagine having you again. I studied her, seeing the mixture of longing, pain, and humiliation. But I felt nothing but clarity. You'll never have me again, I said firmly. Not because I want revenge, but because I don't need you. You were a lesson. A hard one. But now I see clearly. I've built a life I don't need to explain to anyone. I've built love I don't need to defend. And I've built trust one don't give lightly. And that trust it's given only to the woman who stayed. Her eyes filled with tears, and I realized something important. Closure wasn't about words. Closure wasn't about seeing regret or apology. Closure was about standing firm, being untouchable, and showing that my life, my happiness, and my love were mine to define, not hers. You've changed me, she whispered. I see now how wrong I was. But I also see how far I'll never reach you. I nodded. Exactly. And that's the truth. You lost the chance to hurt me, but more importantly, you lost the chance to be part of something real. And that's the consequence of your choices. Not mine. I rose, and you stayed behind. She turned, unable to look at me any longer. Alex,
goodbye.
Goodbye, I said, voice calm and steady. And remember, strength isn't built from what others give you. It's built from what you take back from life after you've been broken. She walked away, and I watched her go. A weight lifted from my chest, not relief, not triumph, but freedom. I didn't need her validation, her apology, or her recognition. I had something far more powerful, myself. Later that night, I called her, the woman who had stayed, who had trusted me through everything. I saw her, I said softly. I know, she replied gently. And nothing, I said with a small smile. It doesn't matter. You matter. Us matters. Everything else that's history. She laughed softly.
Exactly.
And that's why I love you. I love you too, I said firmly. And I always will. In that moment, I understood the true meaning of closure. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't confrontation. It wasn't validation or regret. Closure was control. Control over my life, my choices, and my heart. And I held it fully, freely, and finally, I realized then that the man I used to be, the one who cried over betrayal, who doubted, who let heartbreak define him, was gone. In his place stood a man who had risen, who had loved, who had trusted, and who had become untouchable not because of wealth or power, but because of resilience, self-respect, and the choice to never settle for anything less than genuine love and trust. And in that clarity, I whispered to myself, I am free. I am whole. I am unstoppable. And no one will ever take that from me again. For the first time in years, I slept without fear, without regret, without pain, only strength, only love, only the knowledge that I had survived, risen, and conquered not just the world around me, but the storms inside me. The past had tried to haunt me, but I had faced it. And in facing it, I had found myself. And nothing could ever take that away. It was strange, waking up in a life that she could never touch. Every corner of my apartment spilled across the every room, success in and my I company, woke with a quiet every smile from the woman city who had outside chosen to stay buzzed with with life. But Everything was inside, mine. Everything And felt yet, calm. For years, the first time in I years, had doubted I didn't feel if fear, I would ever reach anger, this moment. or doubt. I sat I at my felt desk, whole, reviewing contracts. She stirred when beside my phone me, buzzed. her hand It finding was her, mine. my ex. Morning,
I didn't
she
panic.
whispered, I didn't
still
hesitate.
in her voice.
I picked
Morning.
it up calmly. I replied
Alex,
softly.
her voice was
brushing a
hesitant,
strand of
soft.
hair from her face.
Did
saw
you
the
sleep
photos.
well?
You're
She
happy.
yawned,
You're
smiling.
thriving. Better than
I-
ever. I
Waking
didn't
up next
expect.
to you, it's perfect.
Expect what? I chuckled.
I asked smoothly.
I could say the same.
That I'd crumble
I
without
never
you.
thought I'd reach a
That
point
my
where
life
mornings
would fall
felt
apart
this free
because of what
this
you did.
Peaceful.
There was a pause.
You've earned
almost
it,
like she
didn't
said
know how to
softly.
respond. Every struggle,
I thought,
every fight,
I thought
every
you'd
late
never
night,
recover.
It's all led
That-
here.
that I'd broken
and
you
you've
too
become
deeply.
someone
But
extraordinary.
you've risen.
I shook my head.
You've smiling.
I've done more than
Not
rise.
extraordinary.
I interrupted.
Just someone who
voice
survived,
steady.
who
I've
rose,
built, who
I've
chose
grown.
love and
I've
trust
created a
over
life I'm
pain
proud of.
and fear.
And I did it
That's
without
all.
you.
She squeezed
I
my
see that
hand.
now, she admitted.
It's more than that.
And
You've
I
built
regret
the
it.
life that's
I should have.
untouchable. I should
You've
have kept
stayed.
love that's
I should have fought for
unshakable.
you instead
and
of
you
leaving.
show me what true
I
strength
exhaled
looks like.
slowly.
I'm
Your
proud
regrets
of you,
are
Alex,
yours,
not mine.
Her
I
words
don't need
made
them.
my chest
They don't
tighten
change
in
anything.
the best possible way.
What's done is done.
I'm proud too.
And now
I said.
live my life
Not
on my
because of what
terms.
I've built
I
or
love who I
how
love.
far I've come, but
I trust
because
who I
I
trust.
didn't let the past
and
define
you,
me.
you're a ghost
I
from the
chose
past.
to rise,
She
to love,
swallowed hard
and to trust
a
again.
ghost.
Yes,
She leaned closer.
I said firmly,
resting her head
You're a
against
reminder
my shoulder.
of what I survived,
And that's why I love
not what
you.
I need.
You're
Unconditionally,
a lesson in betrayal
completely,
and regret,
without fear,
and nothing more.
I kissed her
Her
forehead
voice
softly.
trembled slightly.
And I love you the
Alex,
same way.
You stayed.
I thought I'd have
You
another
believed.
chance.
You
I
trusted
thought
me when it was
maybe
hardest.
I could come back.
That matters
I shook my
more
head
than
slowly,
anything else.
sitting back in my chair.
We spent the day together.
You never had a chance.
walking through the city,
Not because I
enjoying
wanted
simple
revenge,
moments that
not
felt
because I'm
extraordinary,
cruel, but because
every
I've
smile,
moved on.
Every
I'm
laugh,
alive.
every
I'm
gentle
thriving.
touch reminded
And
me
I've
why
chosen
I had
someone who
so
stayed,
hard,
who trusted
why I
me,
had endured
who built this
so
life
much.
with me instead
Later,
of tearing it apart.
as we sat on a bench,
She was
overlooking
silent for
the
a
river.
moment.
She
The
turned to
weight
me,
of her words
eyes
sinking
serious.
in.
Alex,
I didn't
do you ever
understand
think about
her.
I didn't
about the
realize
past,
what I had,
about what
and
could have been.
I see now that
shook
I
my
can
head
never
firmly.
reach it.
Exactly.
Not really. I
said
learned that the
softly.
past
You
only
can't
has
reach
power
this life
if I let it.
because you
I
didn't
don't.
fight for it when it mattered.
I have a life to live.
You chose the easy
a love
path.
to nurture.
You left,
and a future to
and
build.
I chose to rise.
And that future is with you.
I never expected
She
to see you
smiled
like this.
softly. She admitted.
I'm glad.
Voice
because
barely
I
audible.
can't imagine being
strong,
with anyone else.
confident,
You're my
untouchable.
home, Alex.
You've
And
changed
I want to be
everything.
part of this life
I
you've
leaned
built.
forward, completely,
Locking eyes with her through the
undeniably
phone
with you.
screen.
And
you
changed
are,
everything for me.
I said,
not for
squeezing
you,
her hand.
not for anyone
You've been
else.
here through the
my
highs,
life,
the
my
lows,
happiness,
the
my
struggles,
love,
the victories.
It's mine.
You
and
stayed.
it's untouchable.
You fought.
because I
You
built
trusted.
it from the ground up,
And that's why you're
because
mine.
I survived.
And this life is ours.
because I chose to
She
rise.
laughed
softly, her
resting
lips
her
trembled,
head against me again.
And she's
I
with
never
you?
thought love
yes,
could feel like this.
I said calmly.
Safe.
And she's
Strong.
everything I could have
Unshakable.
hoped for. She
I-
stayed when
I'm
it mattered.
so grateful for
she
you.
believed in me when
And
I
I'm
doubted
grateful for you.
myself. I
She
said
loved
quietly
me when I
because
couldn't even
without
trust
you,
myself.
I wouldn't have
That's
learned
real
to trust
love.
again.
That's
I wouldn't
real
have learned
trust.
that love isn't
That's
about
why
control
she's here,
or fear.
and you're not.
It's about
Tears
commitment,
welled in her
patience,
eyes.
and being
I-
there when it matters
I see it
most.
now.
And
The evening arrived,
I hate
and
that
we
I
returned
lost
to
it.
our apartment.
I hate
The
that I
city
let
lights
it go.
reflected in her eyes.
I don't hate you,
making her glow.
I said softly.
I felt a sense
I don't
of
even pity
completion,
you.
of
I
finality,
simply accept
of
that
everything
you made
I
your
had
choices,
fought for
and
coming
I made
together
mine
in one
and
perfect
mine led
moment.
me here.
She
To
turned
this
to me,
life,
voice
to this
soft.
love,
Alex,
to freedom.
do you ever feel
There was
proud
a
of how
long
far you've come?
silence, not
Then
just
she
in
whispered,
business, but
almost
in life,
defeated.
in love.
Alex,
I paused,
goodbye.
thinking about the years
Goodbye.
of pain,
I said firmly.
betrayal,
And
and remember,
struggle.
you lost
Yes,
what you didn't fight for.
I said finally.
and
I'm proud.
I gained everything
Not
I
because
chose
of
to
revenge
fight for
or success.
That's the
but
difference
because
between
I didn't let
us.
the heartbreak break
I
me.
ended the call
because I
and
built a
placed
life
the phone
I
on the
can
desk,
be proud of,
feeling a
and
sense
a
of
love
finality
that's real.
I hadn't
That-
experienced
that
before.
matters more
no
than
anger,
anything else.
no lingering
Her
pain,
eyes
no
glistening
longing
with tears.
just clarity.
And you've shown me
my
that
life
love
was
can
mine.
survive betrayal.
My love was
distance,
mine, and
fear,
my past
everything.
was finally behind
I-
me. I want to
Later
spend
that
my
evening,
life proving
my
that
partner
to you
called.
every day.
How's your day?
And
She
I want to
asked
spend my
softly.
life
Better
loving
than
you
ever.
every day.
I said, smiling.
Voice
I
steady.
just, heartful.
I just spoke to her,
Not because
and
I have
it
to,
felt
but
liberating,
because I choose
like
to.
a final curtain
because
falling.
you're worth it.
And I didn't
Because
feel
you
a thing.
stayed.
That's
She
good.
smiled. She said
Brushing
warmly,
her fingers across
I'm
my
proud
cheek.
of you, Alex. Alex.
And I always will.
You've truly risen.
No matter what.
And I'm honored to be
night,
part of this life
as we
with
lay
you.
together, I
honored
reflected
too,
on my journey.
I said,
the betrayal that
hand
had
over
once
the phone.
shattered me.
And
The
I want you to
heartbreak
know
that had left
nothing
me
and no one
empty.
can touch what
The
we have.
struggles that had
Not
pushed
the
me
past,
to my limits.
not regrets.
The success
not
that had
even
shown
her.
me my
She
own
laughed
strength.
softly,
And the
a
love
sound
that
that
made
made
my
healed me
chest
completely.
ache in the best way.
I realized then that
Exactly.
life had given
This
me
is
everything
ours,
I had
Alex.
ever needed,
Completely,
but only after I had
undeniably
survived the
ours.
storm.
faced my
leaned
demons,
back,
and
letting
chosen
the
to
feeling
rise.
wash over me.
And now,
Freedom.
I had a love that was
Love.
real,
Trust.
unshakable,
Triumph.
and earned.
All the things
The
I
next
had
morning,
fought for,
I woke
all the
with
pain
a
I
sense of
had
purpose.
endured,
led
I
me to
called
this
Jake.
moment.
I've
And
never
I
felt
realized
more
something
alive.
profound.
I said,
Success
I can
and
tell,
love
he
weren't
replied,
just about money
smiling
or
through the phone.
revenge. They
You've
were
finally
about
reached
choosing
the
the right
place you've been
people,
fighting for.
building the right
The
life,
man you are now
and never letting
is
anyone else
unstoppable.
define your worth.
Not because of
I called
success
Jake
or
that
revenge.
I talked
said
to her
quietly.
I said
but
simply,
because of love.
and he asked,
because of trust.
knowing exactly what I meant,
because of someone
and
who stayed
nothing.
when it mattered.
I said with a
And
small smile,
because I finally
it doesn't
let
matter.
go of everything
I've built
else.
a life she
Jake
could
laughed
never touch.
softly.
A
Sounds
love
like you
she could
found
never
peace.
claim.
And
Yes, I said
found
firmly.
Peace.
Jake laughed
Happiness.
softly. That's a
Love.
rare feeling,
And the
man.
knowledge that
I'm
I
proud
built
of you.
this life.
You've
I
truly
earned it.
risen above
I protect
everything.
it.
And
now
no one
you
can
can
take it from
finally
me.
live freely,
Days
without
turned
looking
into
back.
weeks, and our
Yes,
life continued
I
to
said
flourish.
quietly.
The company
And
grew.
that's exactly what I
our
planned
love
to do.
strengthened, and
The
the
next few
lessons
weeks
from the
were
past
filled with
became
reminders
distant
of
memories.
everything I had
Every
achieved.
challenge that arose
Every
was
meeting,
met with
every
unity,
deal,
trust,
every
and
celebration with
determination.
my partner
And every
reinforced
time
the
I thought of my
life
ex,
we were building together.
I felt only
And
gratitude.
every time I
for the
thought of
lesson
her,
she taught me,
the one who had
and for the
betrayed
woman
me,
who had stayed.
it wasn't with
One
anger
evening
or pain.
she looked at me.
It was with a
eyes
quiet
soft
acknowledgement
and
that
full
she
of
had played her
affection.
part in my story.
Alex, do you ever
And
look
that
back
part was
and
over.
regret the past?
One evening,
I
while
shook
sitting
my
on
head.
the balcony with her,
No.
watching the
Every
city
heartbreak,
lights glow below,
every betrayal,
I whispered, every
You
struggle
know,
led me
I
here.
never thought I'd
To
get
you.
here.
To
I
this
never
life.
thought I'd reach a
To
point
this
where the
love.
past didn't
I
haunt
wouldn't
me,
change a thing,
where
because
betrayal didn't
without it,
define me.
I wouldn't know what
She
real
smiled,
happiness feels
leaning
like.
against me.
And
She
yet here
smiled,
you are,
resting her
stronger,
head on my shoulder,
happier,
and
untouchable.
I'm honored to be part
And
of
you're
it.
still human
every
Alex.
day, Alex. Still capable
Every
of
moment.
love, and
Trust
I'm
and
honored to
joy.
love you. That's
I
what
said
makes you
softly.
extraordinary.
Every day,
I kissed her
every
forehead
moment.
softly, and
I
I learned
will,
that the hard way,
forever.
Betrayal taught
We
me.
sat together,
Success built
watching
me,
the city
and
lights,
love, feeling the
love
quiet power
completed
of a
me.
life built
She
on
looked at me,
resilience,
eyes
love,
shining,
and trust.
and I'm
A
honored
life
to be part
she
of
could
that.
never touch,
To be the one
a
who
love she
stayed,
could never
the
claim,
one who chose
and
to
a
fight
man
for
who had
us.
finally become
And I
unstoppable.
said softly,
and in that moment,
I'm grateful you did.
I whispered to myself,
because without
I am
you,
free.
none of this would
I am
exist.
whole.
This
I am
life,
loved,
this love,
and nothing
this
can
freedom,
take that from me.
it's ours.
For the first time in
Completely,
years,
undeniably
I wasn't
ours.
haunted by the past.
And in that
I
moment,
wasn't haunted by
I
betrayal
realized something
or
I
regret.
had never
I
truly
wasn't
understood
haunted
before.
by what I had
Happiness
lost.
wasn't
I was
about
alive.
revenge.
I was
It wasn't about
loved.
proving
I
anything
was
to anyone.
victorious. It wasn't
And
about
that
wealth,
was
power,
everything.
or status. Happiness was about building something real, something unshakable, something that no one could ever take from you. And now, I had it.